You're not my blood, Dad declared at the will reading. The estate goes to Victoria and James. My half-siblings smiled triumphantly. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Harrison, there's a codicil you weren't aware of. The conference room smelled like old leather and cologne. I sat alone while Dad occupied the opposite end, flanked by his two biological children, or so he'd told me my entire life. Mom had been gone 3 weeks. The aneurysm took her at 58. I just turned 44. Nobody remembered. The lawyer read through the provisions. Dad got the Connecticut house. Victoria got Cape Cod. James got the boat and stocks. My name wasn't mentioned once. What about Mom's things? I asked. Dad's eyes snapped to mine. You have no claim to anything in this family. You're not my blood. Your mother's affair 44 years ago produced you. I raised you out of obligation. That obligation ends today. Victoria laughed. We've known for years. My hands shook. Mom never told me because she was ashamed, Dad said flatly. The estate goes to Victoria and James. You'll receive nothing. Mr. Piton shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Harrison, there's something else. Your late wife maintained separate assets you weren't aware of. Everyone's attention sharpened. What separate assets? Dad frowned. Apparently not everything. The lawyer opened a burgundy folder. Mrs. Patricia Harrison's will bequeaths her personal estate to her daughter. This includes all accounts held solely in her name, properties purchased through her inheritance, and investments made independently. That's impossible, Dad interrupted. When her parents passed 18 years ago, she inherited their estate. She sold their Rhode Island home for $2.3 million and received $4 million cash. She invested very wisely. The silence was deafening. How much? Victoria's voice had lost its edge. The lawyer looked at me. Mrs. Harrison's separate assets total, approximately $23 million. They transfer entirely to her daughter. My brain couldn't process it. Mom had been secretly wealthy and never said a word. Dad shot to his feet. Those assets were marital property. Actually, no. Connecticut law is clear inherited assets remain separate unless explicitly combined. Mrs. Harrison kept meticulous records. I'm going to contest this, Dad snarled. And you should know Mrs. Harrison underwent genetic testing 6 months ago. He pulled out another document. The results conclusively proved that you are her biological father. There was no affair. You are genetically her father. The room exploded. Victoria started yelling. James accused the lawyer of lies. Dad stood frozen. Why? I whispered. Mr. Piton answered gently. Your father began that story when you were 8. She suspected he wanted to justify his preference for his other children, so she documented everything, saved messages, kept records. What kind of recordings? Victoria paled. The kind that would be embarrassing if made public. If you contest the will, a detailed accounting of family dynamics over 23 years becomes public record. My mother had been protecting me all along. Get out of my house, Dad said icily. I stood slowly, gladly. Walking out felt like shedding a skin I'd worn too long. The legal battle lasted 6 months. Dad's attorneys filed motion after motion. Mom's lawyer destroyed every argument. The DNA test was ironclad. The financial records were impeccable. The judge dismissed the case with prejudice. I bought a house in Rhode Island overlooking the ocean, started a nonprofit for women's legal aid. Catherine Brennan joined the board. On the anniversary of Mom's death, I visited her grave. I hope I'm making you proud, I said. The nonprofit has helped 43 women. Dad tried calling again. I still don't answer. A cardinal landed nearby. Mom always said cardinals were good luck. Thank you for loving me when they didn't, for believing I was worth fighting for. Mom hadn't just left me money. She'd left me truth, dignity, and proof that I mattered. The revenge wasn't in the money itself. It was in the reversal. Dad spent decades telling me I wasn't really family. Victoria and James assumed they'd inherit everything that mattered. Mom knew proving paternity wouldn't change Dad's heart, so she gave me something better. Independence from his opinion and proof that at least one parent loved me exactly as I deserved. She'd served it perfectly cold, wrapped in estate documents, and with love. I belong to myself now, and that feels like the greatest inheritance of all.